The gaming world is falling into chaos. We all see it. Live service games that only want your money, game prices rising, physical games dying. Like we're at a point where we don't even own the games we buy. But it wasn't always like that. So let me take you back to the golden age of gaming and to the greatest console of all time, the PlayStation 2. If you don't know what a PS2 is or looks like, you're either an alien or born after 2010, which is physically just not possible. The PlayStation 2 is obviously the successor to the PlayStation and was released to Japan's market in the year 2000, but is still the best-selling console to date. When you look back at this thing's game library, you will realize how absurdly good it was. Games like Kingdom Hearts, Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, Devil May Cry, Bully, God of War, GTA, and just too many more. It was almost unfair for the competition, and I understand why it was so successful. This console is older than me, but that doesn't mean that I don't have my fair share of experiences with it. I actually still have one of those things somewhere at my home. At least I think so. While I praise the huge game library of this console, most of my memories of the PS2 were made in one game. One Piece Grand Adventure. This random One Piece arena fighter that came out in 2006. Me getting my ass kicked by my older brothers engraved itself so deep in my memories that I will never forget this game. And I love it for that. The PS2 came out in the year 2000. So you would naturally ask, why is it still the greatest and most successful console of all time? For once, the PS1 was already pretty successful, with 3D games and a CD player, all for a pretty low price. A lot of people bought the PS1. Now with the PS2 just being a better PS1 and having a DVD player, a lot more people got interested. Not only that, the PS2 was also backwards compatible, meaning if you had a PS1, you could sell it and still play your games on the PS2. To top all of that off, the PS2 came out in the year 2000, like I already said. But Nintendo's console or Xbox console were nowhere to be seen at that time, meaning the PS2 had a head start. What basically meant all the new games were coming out for the PS2. That is probably the reason why we have so many great games for this console. With the amount of games that were released for the PS2, it's kinda hard to get an overview of all of them. So I will just give you a couple of examples that I myself would consider peak and that are worth giving a try. Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts is an interesting collab between Disney and Square Enix. It's a crossover between the two, or rather Disney and Final Fantasy, so naturally it features a lot of Disney and Final Fantasy characters. A couple of original ones like the main character Sora, but mostly characters from these two worlds. So throughout the game you travel through Disney worlds. It features a real-time action combat system with magic and summons that you collect throughout the worlds. And the game has an actually interesting story that is pretty mysterious and deep. What is crazy considering that Disney been putting out trash games these couple few years. But I guess Square Enix was doing most of the heavy lifting here, so it makes sense. The game has an iconic soundtrack, like iconic. You at least heard one of these songs, I promise you, even if you don't know it. Now that you get that this game is great, Kingdom Hearts 2 just takes all of this and improves it. Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry was originally supposed to be a prototype for Resident Evil 4, but the action combat system they developed for the game was not fitting of the Resident Evil IP, so they just made its own thing out of it. And I'm hella thankful for that, because the action gameplay revolutionized the industry. With introduction of stylish combat, you basically get graded for how cool you fight, and the whole vibe of the game is just great. It's so gothic, and it touches the topic of demons. The main character is a demon, so it makes sense. The music, the vibe, everything just sets you in the mood for this, and the action is just absurd. It's just the dream of every 12-year-old boy. And because of this game, we got games like Bayonetta now. And again, this game only gets better, not with the sequel, but with the prequel. Devil May Cry 3 is just improving up on everything. And we don't talk about Devil May Cry 2, but Devil May Cry 3 is fire. Metal Gear Solid 3, a cinematic masterpiece. Okay, this is a game, by the way. It's a cinematic masterpiece, but it's a game. The cinematic storytelling is just on another level. Not only that, this game is philosophical and emotionally deep. Okay, I know it's funny at times, but this shit actually deep. Kojima is cooking constantly. He recently cooked with Death Stranding 2, but he was cooking back then too. The game also features survival mechanics, which make the gameplay pretty fun. And the setting of the game is just tough as fuck. It's the Cold War. You're in a jungle. Combine that with the survival mechanics and you just get one of the toughest games in history. The boss fights are great. The stealth is great. It's Metal Gear Solid. What do you expect? And like I already said, the storytelling is just so great that it influenced just countless games to come in the future. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. You know GTA, okay? If you don't know GTA, you're lying. You know GTA. This game featured a massive open world, and for a game that came out in 2004, that was crazy. It had like 3 cities. It revolutionized the way open world games were designed back then, okay? You basically had a bunch of missions to do. You had the main story, and besides that, you could just also do a bunch of other stuff. Like, you were never running out of things to do. And that is how an open world game should be. Some open world games even today don't get that, but that game had it all. It also had character customization, so it felt a little bit more personal. It had RPG mechanics, so you could upgrade and stuff like that. The story is also pretty interesting and touches some interesting topics with gang violence, death, mystery, conspiracy, and just stuff you know from GTA. Just crime. A lot of crime. Like I already said, with all the stuff going on in the gaming world right now, I like to look back on stuff like this. And I hope you enjoyed me rambling about how much better the good old days were, or maybe even got interested in going back to one of the mentioned games. Most of them should be available on Steam, so you don't even need a PS2. But enough of that. I hope you consider liking and subscribing and checking out another video. Maybe even checking out my Discord server if you want to communicate or something. But yeah, until then, Farewell.